Wonderful. Hi, Jen from Cleveland. Hi, Dennis from Bangalore. Hi, Gati from LA. Hi, Rakesh from Hyderabad, India. Wonderful to have you, Rakesh. Hi, Prashant from Pune. Hi, Satish from Bangalore. Hi, Hussein from Canada. Tanmay from Abu Dhabi. Hi, Diljit from Mumbai. Melissa from Chicago. Parneet from Bangalore. Anirudh from Mumbai, Swarupa from Japan. So I think it's a huge audience today joining from across the world. Wonderful to see all of you. And there are so many introductions coming in. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read out all of your names and welcome you all personally. But thank you all once again for joining this webinar. It's exciting to have so many wonderful people. I just want to quickly ask, are you all from the PMP background? What are you all currently doing? Are you pursuing this exam? Are you in this field or are you planning to transition? We are excited to know that as well. So please share your responses. Senior Project Manager Preetham from Darjeeling. Some are saying they're planning for the exam, aspiring for the exam, planning to transition. Some project managers here, Senior Technical Lead. Great, great. All right, wonderful. I think it's time for me to dive into the webinar because we have a lot to cover, some great audience joining us today as well. So once again, for people joining us from YouTube, please feel free to share your responses in the comments. We will keep a check of that as well. And once again, welcome to today's webinar. The topic is Pass the New PMP on Your First Try, a complete PMBOK 8 Prep Masterclass. My name is Shweta, and I will be your host for today's webinar. We also have a wonderful speaker joining us today. I will surely introduce him shortly. And once again, thank you all for your introductions and for sharing your backgrounds. We know your background now, and we really hope to help you all in the upcoming 1 hour. So I'll quickly take you all through today's agenda, and I'll tell you what we are going to cover. So we're going to start by exploring what's new in the PMP exam for 2026, including the latest updates and the trends that every aspirant should be aware of. And from then on, we are going to break down the exam structure, domain weightages, and what PMI is actually evaluating when assessing candidates. We'll then discuss the growing importance of agile, hybrid, and modern project management approaches and how these areas are shaping the current PMP exam. And from there, we'll move into a practical preparation roadmap, including study plans, timelines, and strategies that can help you prepare more effectively. And one of the most valuable sections of today's webinar will be understanding the PMI mindset, because passing the exam is not just about understanding or knowing the project management concepts. It's about how to apply them. And we are going to cover that. And we will also have practice questions for all of you. So a very exciting session for all of you. And I can see a few of you saying that you're not able to hear. Can you try rejoining? Because a lot of you are saying that it's audible to all of you and I'm pretty clear. I did check my audio settings as well. So please rejoin in case you are facing any issues on your end. All right. And with that, I think it's also important for us to set some ground rules to make this webinar as productive as possible. So first of all, please post all of your questions in the Q&A section rather than the chat. So this helps us track the questions properly and ensures that it does not get lost in the conversation we are having. Second, please use the chat actively throughout the webinar. You can, share your thoughts, but please refrain from sharing any external links. We don't want any distractions, right? And finally, we will be launching a poll towards the end of the webinar for your certificate of participation and for the recording. So please stay with us till the very end. You are in for a wonderful, wonderful session today. I'll also just take 2 minutes of your time and quickly introduce Simplilearn for anyone who's new here. And before I do that, I just want to understand, is this your first time? Have you joined us before? I would love to hear if this is your first time. Please respond with a first in the chat box. If not, you can tell us that as well. Okay, first time, first time, first time. Okay, so many first timers. Wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing your responses. Right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. So I understand that there are so many first timers here. A few of them who've attended webinars with us before. So for anyone who's joined us again, thank you. It's great to have you. And for people who are joining us for the first time, it's always exciting to have new audience join us. And I'll just tell you what we do as Simply Learn. So we help learners transform their lives by empowering them through digital skills, and we do these through multiple courses. And currently, we have helped over 15 million learners advance their careers across 150 plus countries, and we do these through global partnerships. And today, in the introductions itself, you saw so many people from different countries join us, so you know the kind of audience that we cater to. And some of our key partners are universities and also industry partners like Google, Microsoft, universities like Virginia Tech, Michigan University, UCST, and a lot more. You can refer to all of that in our website. And some of the pointers that we wanted to actually highlight is that our courses are practical, industry and industry relevant, and we also provide live instruction from practitioners. So this is the reason why we've got such great numbers. So most of our learners have reported a 50% salary hike on completion of courses with us. And we have also been rated 4.8 out of 5 by most of our learners. And they are speaking about their learning experience. And our graduation rate is also 80%, which means we have a lot of retention and people enjoy courses with us. So we also expect all of you to have a wonderful session with us. We take webinars as seriously as we do our live courses as well. So stay tuned and we will dive right in. Like I promised, I hope I did not take much of your time. And now I'm going to one of the best parts. For me, as a host, I love doing this. And today I'm very, very happy and thrilled to introduce our guest speaker, someone I personally look up to. So we are joined by Timothy Jerome. He has a lot of experience, and I'll quickly tell you a little bit about him. So Timothy is a PMP credential holder, MBA graduate, and internationally recognized project management educator with more than 25 years of experience leading and supporting complex projects across industries. And you can see all of that on the screen. His experience spans across multiple industries right now, and he has been a PMP credential holder since 2003, a PMI member since 2001, and has spent more than 20 years teaching project management and PMP exam preparation. So you can just imagine the kind of experience that he is bringing into this webinar, and you can just think about the amount of value that you're going to get out of this 1 hour that you're going to spend with us. And another highlight is that over his career, Tim has mentored more than 14,000 project managers worldwide and has become one of the most respected voices in PMP education. He is also the author of one of the best books. I personally love this book, of Lead Smarter, Not Harder, and he continues to advise universities, professional training organizations, and PMI itself on project management education and leadership development. So that's the introduction I wanted to give about him. It's one, I've had multiple conversations with him over a lot of other PMP webinars as well, and you would know if you've joined us before. So this is going to be an exciting session, and Tim, I'm sure everyone's waiting to hear more from you. So please go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you very much. You've said it all. I have really appreciated being in the public talking about something that I think is really critical. One of the things that I observed when I was going to school back in the 1980s and 1990s, that things were changing so much faster and that things were so volatile and uncertain that I wanted to figure out how businesses were going to be able to survive and thrive in this environment. And when I found out project management was there, and I was saying it makes sense for us being the vanguard, project managers being in front of the wave and helping organizations and corporations do these major changes, like how do we integrate artificial intelligence into our organizations? That's what a project manager does. They implement change. And so when I actually started teaching, it wasn't just teaching about Excel and Word and PowerPoint and making decisions, but it was how do we assist in the strategy and implementation of these major changes. And this is the conversation I've been having with all of my students over the last 20 odd years. I'm just honored to be here and to actually add what I've learned from what you all have taught me over the last few decades. That's basically where I am. I just appreciate being here today.
Thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate you being here today. And with that, I think it's time for us to dive right into the topic. And as we are talking about clearing the PMP exam, we saw that a lot of them are currently preparing for the exam and aspiring to take the exam shortly. I think after the PMBOK 8 is released, like the exam format is released. So, Tim, when candidates start preparing for PMP, many assume that it's just another version of the exam that they've heard about like before that the it's just an updated format, but PMI continues to evolve the certification. And from your perspective, what are the biggest changes that candidates need to understand about the PMP exam in 2026 before they even begin their preparation for that?
Okay, so if this is the big deal right here, okay? Um, a lot more uncertainty, a lot more volatility. So we can't just think about traditional project management. We have to think and behave in ways that we can approach things that we may not understand yet. That's a big part. I gave you the example of artificial intelligence, but there's another part that my research, as well as a lot of us experts, are talking about, which is sustainability. I can build something with the experts, and I can help experts build things, but what if it's not used? What if it functions the way it is, but it's only there for 6 months? It doesn't generate value and benefits, right? And so sustainability is a big part too. On top of that, we're having to be more smart with our economics around organizations, corporations, and projects. So how do I understand this thing called finance? In the past, it was basically I manage the project from the schedule scope, and my director does the budget, or finance does the budget. Now we have to be budget minded because we're stewards. This is not our money we're spending. These are not our resources. We're just the facilitators to help an organization. This was reflected in a change back in 2019, and it's only enhanced now. On top of this, we're looking at governance. Governance is taking a really big part, and as well as the external environment. I see a question here. Uh, is this seminar benefit those using taking the PMP exam prior to the change to the 8th edition? The answer is yes. What we're finding out is that there's modifications. Now, let me give an example of that to you. Okay, Jen. Uh, Look at the left-hand side in the domain weightage, right? Business, people, and process. We actually have had that since 2016, 2017. And what we've learned is that we wanted leadership. So we had this 50% process, 10% leadership. I mean, 10% business, and the rest of it was people and leadership. But now we're changing it up because we still have that process that's critical. It's down to 40%. People is 33%. A third of what we need to know to pass the exam and be good project managers is still part of this. Business is becoming more important because business gives us the context. It gives us an understanding of why we must do that. And as a project manager, you're going to need to know why. So it's always been there, but we're actually taking it in the next step forward because as we progress, artificial intelligence is going to be taking over process first. But human behavior is still something that we can't teach AI. And this is where project managers can actually a basically have a relevant career path for at least the next decade. So to your answer, yes, it applies both. But what we're doing here is we're looking forward looking. So what I'm talking about today will help you pass the exam. When will the changes be implemented real quickly? Um, July. The change is July when we go to the new exam framework. But I want to say something here, okay? If you were to start to study now, you probably would need to prepare at least 3 to 8 weeks. And so we want to make sure that if you were to prepare today, what I'm talking about today will be relevant for you. Those of you who are already preparing and have your dates set in June, though, this still is meaningful.
Right. Thank you so much for answering the questions. I have received a few more questions in the Q&A box. We unfortunately we won't be able to address all of it right now. We will take up a few questions towards the end. But there's someone who's saying that we know, is preparing for the PMP exam with the seventh edition, like you mentioned, some of them are, and his preparations are halfway through, and should he wait and take the exam on the eighth edition? What would you recommend? And I think this question applies to most of our audience who are currently preparing. Should they wait to take the exam after the update comes out?
It's up to you, okay? If you have your this is how you're going to make your decision. If you have um if you have a need to take the exam in June, I would stay with that, okay? What is important is the exam content outline, and that is the structure of the exam. Make a reference to both the current and the 2026 exam content outline. Understand the variances, but understand also if you take the exam before the end of June, it actually aligns with the 2019 version of the exam content outline. That's a fast answer.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that. I think that was very important because everyone had a few of them had the same queries. And now that we understand what's actually changing and how the weightage is also different from before, another very important question I had for you is about the question types that the audience must know. And like you mentioned, the exam content outline is really important. So, what are some of the questions that they can expect? Are there major changes coming up, and should they be prepared for that?
So here's the big deal, okay? They have not been public, but the current PMP exam up to the end of June, okay, actually have had all these pieces, but we just didn't publish them. 80% up to now, 80% of the questions have been what we call situational. Okay, they use psychometrics and they don't measure your ability to memorize or your ability to do the math. You don't memorize functions anymore. And we were doing that, right? And that applies to the current exam too. But what we're looking at is more of these situational things going into July. This is the big deal. Number two, scenarios. You're given an environment and a situation, and how do you navigate it to success? Graphic base. This is again how you're given a table or you're given a report, and how do you use that and how do you interpret that? So this is a big deal. And like I said, we in times past, I used to teach a bunch of formulas, but now I'm teaching this is what this looks like. Here are the formulas, but here's the report. Your job is more strategic. Why is this important? Because as project managers, if we want to remain relevant, we're not going to be the Excel experts. we're going to be the strategy experts. We're going to be working not just with our team members and learning how to influence and motivate them, but we're also working with the executives in the business cases and the strategy and giving advice in this manner. And so we're going to see that this actually represents a lot of what we need to be successful project managers. Point and click is hotspot. Basically, point the part of a graph where you're over budget, but you're behind schedule, right? And the enhanced matching, drag and drop, we've done this in the past, and we've had that as part of the PMP exam. It's just that they're going to be a greater part, which is you have a list of items, and you have a category of items, and you either create lines on the test screen or you move a concept to a category. Much more interacting and engaging than just doing a series of multiple choice questions.
Yes, I thank you for explaining all the different types of questions that they will have in the upcoming exam. And I think, like you mentioned, now strategy is also as important. And speaking about how the exam has evolved over time, one area that's actually getting more attention and that we spoke about earlier as well is agile. So the shift towards agile and hybrid approaches seems pretty significant right now. So what does it mean for PMP aspirants and also for people from the traditional waterfall background?
So the big answer is Agile is going to be integrated in the way we do projects. Think about this. I'm at home here and I'm working on my car, and I open up the car and I see I have two sets of things that I have to fix, right? And one of them, I need an imperial set of tools like 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 1 inch. And I also have some metric tools I have to have. Okay. Now, back in 2019 to, up till today, we were looking at these two sets of toolkits. Now, the PMP exam and the PMBOK are saying, yes, you have two sets of toolkits, but they go into one toolbox. That's the big difference with the PMBOK. It's saying we have two sets of tools, but you have one toolbox you bring into it. So I may be using Scrum in a predictive project, or I may be using by using a work breakdown structure inside of an agile project. But again, they're tools for work that we have a lot of history on and a lot of confidence on. And we also have those tools where we work in uncertainty. And what we're talking about in the PMBOK, as well as in the Agile Practice Guide that's going to be updated here in July, we're talking about not just Agile, but understanding what we mean about hybrid. Hybrid is going to become much more important as we progress over the next 3 or 4 years.
Thank you for providing clarity on that. I think I saw this question outside of the webinar as well, and people are actually discussing about this major change that is happening. So thank you for clearly explaining that. And with that, I think then a lot of people have questions about the exam, about if the exam is going to be more difficult or not. And I think it can be overwhelming because of the scale of the MP exam, possibly. So can you break down what the actual experience would look like for participants for after the update comes out, the PMP exam in 2026?
So the exam is going to be pretty much the same. Okay. They're going to be mostly situational questions. You notice that the technique in which they implement the questions may be different. But again, 75 to 80% of the questions are going to ask you, what do you need to be thinking about? What do you need to decide? What's the good decision? What's the first thing you do? We have a lot of those questions. It's still about what, 1.3 minutes per question. So you're going to be working under a sense of urgency. Most common again will be multiple choice, which is like I said, what do you do first? What do you do next? How do you interpret these things? That's a big deal. But remember, behind this, a third of the questions are going to be about leadership. How do you treat people and groups? 40% is going to be around process. How do you pull things together in a certain way? And especially when you have changes inside of projects. And this question came up on my exam back in 2003, where, you're about to deliver the deliverable at the end of the project and somebody says, I want to make a change. What do you say? Right? The appropriate answer is great. Let's make a change and call it our next project. And it's the same mindset here. The questions are still relevant, but the questions now have more depth to them. Because if you have an agile project, you can say, okay, that's a great idea. And you get those great ideas in these little iterations or sprints. And now with agile on an exam, you're going to say, that's a great idea. Let's aim to put that in our next release. And so you can add it, take it back from your current release and put it in the backlog of the next. So we have a little bit more flexibility in our toolkits and our tool sets. So what I talked about a few minutes ago is really relevant to how we approach the way we answer these questions today. That's the big difference.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think that answers a few of the questions that we've received about the exam difficulty and how different the exam would be if they are taking it after the update comes out. I also wanted to understand from the audience before we move ahead, what concerns you the most? Is it the questions, the duration of the exam? Is it time management or the question difficulty? You can let us know your concerns. We will try to address that as well. It will be interesting because we have an interactive session coming up shortly. So please share your responses in the chat. What are you most concerned about when it comes to taking this exam after the update? Okay, so Jen says, what would you do first? Questions. Okay. I think questions are acing the mindset. Diljit, okay. Duration.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, 4 hours seems too long. Mindset, how to prepare for the new test. Probability of clearing. I think that's a very important question, Tim. Does it reduce their chances? I think that is one of the most concerning questions. I've seen a few of them also say that they are willing to take the exam once it's updated, but what are their chances of clearing that exam? Is it going to
Yeah,
be
and let me actually reflect on another question that I think is just as important, if not more so. How does my studying need to change? That is so big. And it's some of it's different, but some of it is the same. But every course that I teach, I'm noticing a trend, and that I've been seeing this trend over the last 5 to 7 years. It's and we'll talk about this at the end of class. And if you want to talk more about that, this is what you need to be focusing on. Not just what do I have to memorize, but how do I need to think about the exam and think about project management as we go through.
Right. Yes, definitely. We will surely have a small, at least we will talk about little before we wrap up this session. So many questions coming in, but we have a lot to cover, everybody. We will take your questions at the end. We will try to take as many questions as possible. And I think Amardeep had asked if his chat is visible. Yes, your chat is also visible to us. So if you have questions, please post it in the Q&A or we will try to take it up in the end. In the interest of time, I think we have to move on to the next segment. And here we're going to talk about the 3 domains that decide your score. Tim, you already spoke about how this is changing. So can you talk to the audience a little more on how they can strategize and plan their preparation accordingly?
Okay, so let's see here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Um, so we still have that balance I'm talking about, right? Number of tasks. Now, when we're talking about number of tasks, everyone, please think about this. Each task has a chance of showing up on your exam about 4 or 5 times. Okay? So think about it as you go across this. This is like what, you know, it's like 4 or 5 out of 180 questions. Okay? People. We're talking about vision, conflict, leadership, value is a part of vision too, and communication and knowledge. And then in process, we're looking at integration, tying things together, scope, value, resources, quality, and schedule. And one thing that we have also in process, but also is documented in business now, is governance, making decisions. How do I integrate decision making into my project? Okay. Compliance is an important part too. This is a big difference between the seventh and eighth edition of the PMBOK. Okay. They said in the seventh edition, quality is this whole area of knowledge and it's separate. What they're saying now is quality is part of everything we do. So quality is seen as a component of business itself that we have to rely on. And it's actually integrated into governance as we're talking about it. And again, when you get things wrong, you know, if you want to get a people question wrong, you're going to escalate before you collaborate. This is a big deal. In the past, we've say you all always analyze first. You get the data, turn it into information, right? That's how you address things. But collaboration is the big part now because so much is uncertain. We need to actually use the knowledge of everybody, not just, not just that I'm a smart person. I want to consider everybody has a piece of information I don't know yet. In process, ignoring agile in predictive scenarios. This is a trick. It's like I go back to my toolbox, which has 2 sets of tools in it, right? How do I use agile in a predictive project to actually make things better and easier? Okay. And also with the business environment, this is so important. We forget, and we have forgotten for a while over the last 7 to 10 years, that business is why projects exist. This is a huge topic that we need to address with. Okay. Um, the default answer for PMI and the people is servant leadership and collaboration. There's another component that I want you to think about that you're going to see coming in the public discussion, which is uh I not just service but stewardship. How do I create something that is not for me? How do I create a deliverable that I love, but nobody else is going to be able to use? And what we have to do is change that mindset. That's a big part of it too. Um, in process, preventing defects is a big deal. And we have to remember when we're talking about defects, we're not just talking about deliverable detail defects, but we're talking about project management defects too. So we're going to have that continuous improvement in this part. And you can actually, when you look at the process questions, you're going to see a few of those pop up. And finally, why are we doing this project? The project manager, there's a lot more discussion in the PMBOK. The project manager is the individual who says, this is why, this is the context, this is the roadmap, this is why, because number one, it actually allows you to make meaningful changes. Number two, it gets people involved. It gets people engaged. This is what the value comes from. It's that connection to the strategy in the business.
Those were some amazing insights, Tim. And I think it was very important for us to understand the core focus areas and some of the exam traps that we actually need to avoid and what we can actually focus on. I think this has provided a lot of clarity, even to me. So it has been great to know about all of this. And that also brings me to the next segment. Now that we understand the domains a little better, I have a few questions from the audience also related to the upcoming segment, and we are going to be covering a 8 to 12 week study plan blueprint with all of you. And Tim, this is also one of the most questions we hear from our audience. How long should I study before taking the PMP exam? And we also have a question from someone, I can't, it's from an anonymous attendee. So this person's asking, should one prepare full time for the PMP exam? Can they work? Can they prepare along with a full time job as well?
Okay, so I can answer that second one very quickly. This is what we taught in COVID, and this is what I teach now. PMI understands that we have gap years for many, many reasons, most that we can't control. And so if you aren't in a job, but you have an opportunity to take the exam, prepare for it. Now, you don't just study an hour a day, or you don't just look at 20 questions a day. You have an opportunity to work on it for 3 or 4 hours a day. And all of a sudden, going from, 6 to 8 weeks of preparation, an hour a day, you're working with 3 to 4. But again, this has to do with your availability and your commitment. But most of us do have this, mixture of personal life and business as well as continuing education. And so what we're looking at is how do we balance? And this is a really good example right here. Weeks 1 or 2, creating a foundation, basically a common understanding of all pieces of project management, okay? That's the first step. And this is why we teach PMP preparation the way we do. We have a great relationship with Project Management Institute and use their training content. And so we say this is the framework. This is the whole landscape of what you can expect. And here is the attitude that you need in these various pieces. And then after that, we're going into a deeper understanding, which is, getting into the details. Like, how does schedule fit into the rest of the project? How does risk fit in? How does quality fit in? How do contracts fit in? And so this is an opportunity for us to get into that level. And again, if we're talking about 35 hours of training content with an expert through Simplilearn, this is about what we're able to do. At this point, then we can move into application, which is where we start working on our practice questions. And we can actually there's different models based on your ability to set aside time and the needs of the other parts of your life. But we have lots of practice questions. Our content developers have developed some really nice material. I've been trained by PMI International to write practice questions, and so I review these on a regular basis with Simplilearn. And I've just gone through another iteration of that, and we have some very solid questions. The mock exams too are important too. The practice questions give you the gaps in your knowledge you need to study, where the mock exams give you gaps in understanding for taking the exam itself, like my attention to detail, my focus or lack of focus, my approach to confidence, how, a lot of people who don't pass the exam the first time come to me and says, Tim, I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. How do I actually nail the exam the first time. And this is where the mock exams help you, where you're distracted over the 2 hours or so, and you stay in that, and also time management fits in this. And then after you're going through this, you still have gaps. You will have gaps. If you're getting 80 to 85% of your questions correct in your mock exams, you're ready for the exam, at least from a knowledge and comprehension standpoint. And so with that week 11, with that background of time management and focus and confidence, then you can actually say, okay, this is where I need to study a little bit more. And then you actually continue your work with individual practice questions so that you can finally clear out all of these details that give you that confidence. And I won't speak to confidence today, but I regularly do. There, confidence is not something you bring to something you've never done before. Confidence is a result of practicing it over time. And so this is why these weeks 1 for 12 are very important. But with us, we're understanding that if you break it up into some framework like that, it's logical, it's pragmatic, it makes sense. And just by understanding the structure that's there in place gives you a sense of confidence. And this is what we've learned in Agile, talking about how do I use Agile in a predictive project. You can think of getting the exam and going through the exam preparation as a project, and it is predictive. But at the same time, going into the new exam in July is totally uncertain. And so we can use these agile tools like sprints and iterations. And that's what we built into the material.
Thank you for sharing that, Tim. And that also changes our perspective about the exam when you think of it as a project that you are working on. That was a really interesting thought to have. And with that, as people are preparing for the exam, many professionals struggle with fitting PMP preparation into their busy schedule. Like we know, the working professionals that we have here. So, how should someone like that structure a productive study session on a daily basis? And after that, I think we can take up a few questions. I see some questions which are really relevant before we move on to PMI thinking structure.
Okay, so here's what we're looking at. Concept review. Take one task deeply. Okay. If you go into the exam content outline, what you can do is you can see the exam content outline today on the PMI.org website under the PMP application page, right? You go to the certifications PMP and you see the exam content outline. Don't go there. Okay. Go down below and say, are you interested in the 2026 exam? Go in there and they have the new exam content outline. It's going to be on the front page here very, very soon. Okay, make sure it says 2026 and look at these tasks. What does this mean? And it's interesting because the tasks in the exam content outline are broken up by the domain, people, process, and business, and then the task, and then something they call enablers. Enablers are important because those are examples of how the tasks show up. Now, if you think the tasks are going to be on there, it's highly probable that those examples may also show up on the exam as well. So be able to sure to look at those, what we call the enablers. Drills. Solve about 25 practice questions on that concept. That's really important. There's two factors you want to look at. If you know exactly what you need to practice on, work on those questions. And there are tools, especially if you go through our PMP prep class, there are actually ways to actually look at the practice questions and work with them in that manner. And also error analysis. We use quality and quality management in working with this. What do I mean by that? We're looking at our defects. You are not going to learn more by studying the questions you got correctly. We're going to learn more by studying our defects, the questions we got incorrectly. So if you can focus just on that, you're still going to get those other items correct. You may have to practice them a little bit, but you're going to minimize the ones you're getting wrong, which is going to increase your probability of passing. And then getting into the last set of processes that you're going through in the preparation, making sure that you're comfortable not just doing it in a manner that makes sense, it's logical and it's comfortable for you now. You want to do it under time constraints. That's the time management I was talking about a couple slides behind.
Right. That was really informative, and I think this is something everyone can implement on a regular basis. And like you mentioned, all of these are really helpful in clearing that exam. And I think mock exams also help a lot for someone who is preparing for the exam, and that is also something that we are covering as a part of our curriculum. And now that I spoke of that, I saw a few questions. I'm not able to find the chat, but from what I remember, the question was related to the syllabus that we are providing at Simplilearn right now. So, Tim, a few of them are asking if the changes will be reflecting in our curriculum right away, or will it reflect later on? So, if they have currently enrolled for the PMBOK 7 version, so they want to know if that is going to be updated or if they would have to enroll for the next version.
Good news. We're teaching under the new version right now. We're using the updated training content right now. This is a big deal. We started this about I guess I started this like about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I finished my first iteration. I got a new cohort and I'm building up some more. So we're working under the new model. Now, if you plan to take the exam before the end of June and you're in one of our courses, tell us, okay? And we'll work on that. But yeah, we're already teaching the new training content, okay? I do want to speak a couple things here. Is PMP certification still relevant in the Indian corporate market with emerging AI? It's also in the German corporate market, in the England, in the European, in China, in the United States. It's global. Okay, it's a global disruptor. And yes, it is incredibly relevant. And if you go over to the Project Management Institute website, pmi.org, you'll realize that, we have an actual certification now in project management and artificial intelligence. And we have standards and practice guides right now. Now, they're going to be changing over the next 2 to 5 years based on the technology and its capabilities, but it is real. And talking about change management, I want to answer that and then we can move on. Change management is critical because number one, changes are happening quicker and they're bigger changes. It's amazing the projects I have now and how we have to make, quick turns that are very aggressive turns. But at the same time, there's the people side. And how do I prepare people for an environment where there's a lot of changes? You know what it feels like. And as a project manager, you're having to get people comfortable with this new way of thinking. So this is what we're trying to impress, both in our PMP course and PMI through the PMP exam. And you're going to see continuing education look at change and change management, not just as changing the deliverable or the technology, but changing the way we bring people into the change to make them more comfortable.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. I think that was very important for all of us to know and think about and reflect on as well, how people would be dealing with changes as AI is also coming into the picture, and how as project managers we implement effective strategies to manage people, business, and projects, right? And with that, I think we are moving on to the next segment, and this is one of the most interesting segments for everyone who's with us right now. So we're going to be covering PMI thinking structure and practice questions. So we have 10 very interesting questions for all of you, and we would want you to follow along. But before we attempt those questions, I would like Tim to talk a little bit about the PMI thinking structure and how one should actually think as a project manager even before attempting this exam. How can they develop this mindset that a lot of people were talking about?
Well, first of all, we have to understand how do we combine these sets of tools like agile and predictive and adaptive methods, right? Pull them together, right? So again, how does a project manager relate to a scrum master? How does a project manager, a scrum master match to a product owner and that, and how do they work together? And how does that fit in organizations? You know how it fits within your organization, but across all industries and sectors. That's what you would call the base understanding. And then on that, what's the actual underlying issue? A lot of the questions that we go through our practice exercise, you have an issue, but what is the problem that you have to solve? And we've had this in the past. This is really critical for us to understand now because one thing that has not changed and is not going to change is how we act and behave as individuals and groups. And that means how do we solve problems together? And the mindset is important. We actually went into the seventh edition understanding that we have to have principles, and principles are attitudes and opinions we have that shape our behavior. What we've done in the eighth edition is we've made it easier to understand. It's simplified. And if you do have a chance to look at the new PMBOK, go into the first section and look at the way they introduce the principles, and it makes total sense. And then finally, one of the greatest ways that we can do in preparing for the of preparing for the exam is strategies in answering questions themselves. We're looking at process of elimination. That's one of the biggest things you can do. It makes your time very efficient and it raises the probability of success higher. The next one that I think about is root cause analysis. What's really causing the issue? And then what we're going to have to look at is your critical thinking and analysis. How do I break down problems and use that to solve it? So think about it in that way. Process of elimination, critical thinking, and then as we move on, right?
Um, All right. So I thank you for explaining that, Tim. I think they can use this for the practice questions that are coming up. And for everyone I think someone just asked where they can access the practice questions. We're moving on to that segment. So try to apply whatever you've learned while answering those questions. Are you all excited? I hope all of you are. I am.
I am.
So I'm hoping.
Okay,
Uh,
let's
yeah.
let's take the first one, okay? A team member consistently misses quality standards, right? They're making lots of defects probably, right? And the project manager has discussed this twice. And the next set of work, the sprint, begins tomorrow. What do you do next, right? What's the first thing you do? Okay? Do we escalate? Do we hold a root cause conversation? Do we remove the team member or reduce the scope of their work? What's the best way to do this? What do you
You,
think? B? What would you say, Shweta? Would you agree?
yeah, I think a B most probably.
Yeah. Let's do the next one and then we'll look at the answers, okay? A stakeholder requests a major scope change mid-project in a predictive environment. Predictive, the PM believes The change adds value, but no formal process. What do you do first? Do you implement the change? Do you reject the change? Do you document the request? Or you present the change directly to the sponsor for immediate decision? Ah, that's a little bit different, isn't it? You like C,
Yes,
document the request and
yes.
route it. Let's look at the answers of these and see what we come up with.
Yeah, and in the meantime, everyone, please feel free to share all of your responses. I'm going to open the chat so you can also view the responses. Come.
Okay, so first of all, the first one is correct, right? Root cause before action. Analyze first. That's one of the rules that we have. What is really causing the problem? Is it this individual, or is it something that they don't have to do their job well? Okay. And the second question is all scope changes in a predictive environment go through integrated change control. Well, we're going to learn in our PMP preparation course that Agile has its form of change control too, and we don't deviate from that either. And so we're going to see this. Now, because we got that hint that it was a predictive project, we know that we're going to use integrated change control. So see how we're using our understanding of these frameworks to answer the question correctly. Let's move on. 3 and 4. A key resource is pulled from your project without warning. The schedule baseline is at risk. What do you do first? Immediately update the baseline? Oh, where's our analysis? Assess the impact and communicate to the stakeholders? Escalate directly or crash the schedule using available overtime? Okay, that's one. You like B. Everybody likes B right
Yeah,
now, right?
everyone's saying B. I would
Okay.
agree too.
Okay. And your project consistently delivers under budget but fails quality in 3 consecutive reviews. What do you do now? Do you do your detailed cost variance? Do you review quality? Ooh, that's a hard one, isn't it? Because it's both
Yeah,
about quality and cost. Perform a resource performance review or update the risk register. This one's tricky. You still like your quality audit, right?
right.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's see what the answers are here. Okay, so it's B, right? Analyze first. Isn't that an interesting pattern? Okay, before any corrective action. It will slow things down, but it'll give you a more successful result. And the second question is again, integrated change control. Okay, very good. Very good. I like that answer, Giselle. Well, this is a small set of questions. Can we see the questions again? Let's go back.
Sure.
Okay. Perform a resource performance review. Why? Why? Why would we do C over A, B, or D? What is it about resources? Isn't that interesting?
Costs of
Cost,
someone.
quality. That's right. It's not just a cost component. It's not just a quality component, but we're looking at the performance of the project. Isn't that tricky? Yeah, yeah, very good. I appreciate that.
Great.
Okay.
A lot of responses. I'll move on to the next set of questions, question 5 and 6.
Yeah, and we may only have time for these so that we can answer a few questions at the end. A PM is planning a project with evolving requirements and a cross-functional team of 25 resources. What development approach should we need? Okay, first of all, evolving requirements. What does that sound like? It doesn't sound like you're building a plan that you're going to adhere to. So that we have that predictive answer, we have that hybrid answer, we have agile only, or do we wait until requirements are fully defined? On the second question, you like Agile? You like Agile over there? And somebody likes hybrid? Good, 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 good. A PM discovers a team member knowingly misreported sprint velocity. Ooh, we have an ethics question. So what do? Do we go right to the sponsor and escalate? Do we speak privately with the team member to understand the context? Do we ask questions? Do we correct all reports? Or do we ignore it? Great question. I love six. That's a really good one. Let's look at the answers here.
Sure.
Okay, so B, agile. But the thing is, it has to be hybrid because we have 25 people with a lot of governance, which means that you're going to have some type of predictive framework for the decision making, but you're going to have to use your agile methods inside that framework. With the second question, root cause before escalating. You always ask questions. This is the beautiful thing. Analyze first means you go to people with questions. You don't give them directives. Okay? This is a powerful, powerful set of material. Isn't that fascinating? This see how the practice questions can help you with not just memorizing things, but it helps you with your context and comprehension. This is why we focus on those practice questions as a critical component of your preparation.
Right, absolutely. And I think everyone can apply that even if at their workplace right now. So really good questions. And
Isn't that cool?
yeah. So I'm gonna move on to the next set of questions, question 7 and 8.
Okay. I don't want to keep everybody here. I would love to do this all day. I want to make sure that we're meeting time, and that's same for you also, Shweta, okay?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
new regulations are introduced mid-project that affect your project's compliance. Ooh, what is compliance? Compliance is audits and it's confirmation that we're following process, right? And the change was not anticipated in the risk register. What do? Continue the project, assess the impact, pause the project, or assign a team member to monitor the regulations. In eight, oh, we still like B, don't we?
Yeah.
An agile team's velocity has been inconsistent across sprints. The Scrum Master wants to use average velocity for release planning. What's true? Ooh, this says what can you rely on to help make this decision, right? Velocity is universal and can be used to compare teams. Velocity measures direct business value delivered. Velocity should always increase every sprint or the team is failing. Velocity is team specific and should not be used to compare different teams. Okay, we're going to look at 8 here, but let's turn the page and review 7 first. First of all, the answer to 7 is B, okay? We need agile for the evolving requirements, but we're talking about a cross-functional team. Okay, let's go back to 7 again and make sure we understand this. Okay, assess the impact on project scope and backlog. Okay, see how that works. Analyze first. Now let's go over to 8. The answer to 8. D. Even with serious integrity concern, we go back and we say, okay, we need to understand the context. Go back to the question. Okay, let's look at the answer. Velocity is team specific. Yeah, I noticed that too, real quickly, Justin. And let's actually look at the answer for 7 and 8. Okay? Even though the details of the answer are incorrect, D is still the correct answer. Why? Why is D the correct answer for 8? It's because velocity changes based on the group of people who do the work. And we cannot predict that velocity should always increase. It's uncertain. We don't know that because we're working with we don't know. Okay? Yeah, let's go ahead. I apologize for the for having to rush through this, but let's go ahead and go to our conclusion, okay, Shweta, so that we can answer a couple more questions.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think we can give the last two questions, 9 and 10, as a bonus to the audience. They can view it in the slide deck. I think there's a very important slide that we actually would want to cover, which was the mock exam strategy. So, Tim, would you want to walk our audience through that?
Yes, I'll be happy to. So, what we don't want to do is on the left. What we do want to do is on the right. Okay? Number one, we don't want to take the practice questions and the practice exams without a structured debrief. You want to understand what you're getting wrong so you can focus your attention on raising your grade. Were these real questions? Shukri, these are not from the exam itself. You will never see the exam questions in themselves in the real world, but these are representative. And this is why I, as a volunteer, am trained by PMI to actually help companies and universities, companies like Simplilearn, validate their questions. And these are representative of what you'll see on the exam. Looking at the final score, don't worry about that right now, but understand it in context of the domain and understand it within the context of the task so you understand the details. Track domain wise across people, process, and business. So where your strengths are and where you need to study. You could retake the same practice questions, and that would help, but it really doesn't. It helps in your memorization, and that's not what the task is. The exam is about. What you want to work on is, multiple sets of questions. And we have what? We have assessments, like about 7 assessments that you go through. So there's a lot of variety in the questions. You don't stop at 60 to 65%. You want to aim for about 80%, 75 to 85% correct. And that actually represents that you're going to pass the exam. But that's only the knowledge and comprehension part, okay? And then finally, um, timed practices are important. You don't want to time your practice session at the early time because you're learning new behaviors, you're practicing it. But later on, you want to get into that time management, okay? And you want to understand that there's a cadence, not just to the questions, but sitting down for 2.5 hours or more, right? So we have to understand that cadence as well.
Right. Thank you for explaining that, Tim. It was very important for everyone to understand this in detail. And with that, I think we have exceeded our time. So I'm just going to quickly walk the audience through our program, Simplilearn's PMP certification training. Like Tim mentioned, we have updated the curriculum as well. So I will not be going deep into it. I'll quickly talk to you about what we are covering and the key features of this program. So first, you will earn the 35 contact hours required for PMP eligibility through live instructor-led training. But more importantly, you will be learning directly from experienced trainers who can simplify concepts, just like in today's webinar. Tim is one of our mentors, and we also have multiple other mentors with us. So you will be getting a lot of support from our instructors. Second, you will get access to 14 plus simulations and over 2000 PMP aligned questions. And as Tim mentioned earlier, confidence just does not come from just reading concepts. It comes from practice, and we understand that. So this also helps you develop the PMI mindset that we spoke about and become comfortable with exam style questions. You will also receive PMI digital learning materials, assessments, ebooks, and participant guides. So instead of spending hours searching for resources online, you have a structured learning path from day one. And another valuable addition is the PMI membership access, which includes PMBOK 8th edition, PMI Infinity AI Coach, webinars, templates, tools, and access to a global community of project management professionals. This means that your learning continues well beyond the classroom as well. And for professionals looking to stay ahead of the industry trends, the program also includes exclusive generative AI masterclasses for project managers, helping you understand how AI is transforming project delivery and decision making. And finally, you will receive sheets, study plans, application support, AI powered mock interviews, and 24/7 learner assistance, because preparing for the PMP exam is not just learning the content like we understood in today's webinar. It's about also having the right support system throughout your journey, and to have a lot of mock tests and practice sessions and get feedbacks as well. So when you put all of these together, what you're really getting is not just training, you're getting a very structured roadmap designed to help you prepare with confidence and also reduce the guesswork. We saw a lot of questions that you have. So this program can help you with your exam preparation. If you have any kind of questions, our team can support with you with that as well. And this is the curriculum that is covered in the new format. So I think, Tim, can you walk them through that real quick?
Okay, so what you're seeing is on the left-hand side, which is the actual modules that we teach against, which are in alignment with how PMI wants us to do the training, right? The big picture, talking about stakeholders and engaging stakeholders and creating that strategy or vision in using primarily communication, and then bringing in the team and how do I work with team and get them involved in working in a collaborative manner. Then we get into the core planning where we start talking about scope, value, and resources, and then we get into the deeper planning. Does this sound familiar? We talked about that in our preparation earlier, didn't we? And then we're looking at how do we engage the stakeholders and team as they create the deliverable, and how do we monitor and control, which is performing that analysis and making the appropriate changes. And then finally, we wrap up in, business environment and how do we actually make this work within the constantly changing uh, manner in which our organizations are always going through.
All right. Thank you for explaining the curriculum. If you want an in-depth understanding of this, you can go to our website and view the course details, and you'll be able to see an option to download the curriculum. So please feel free to take a look at that as well. Here are some of the skills that are covered as a part of this curriculum. Tim, is there anything that you would like to highlight here? Some skills that could be beneficial for them if they are thinking about a career in project management?
Based on our conversation earlier, I'm going to say these have always been there. Okay. What we're doing now is not just saying, here's the agile way and here's the predictive way. What we're saying is, how do we use both these sets of tools to get done what we do in the project management way? This is the takeaway from this slide that you have to really think about.
Right. Thank you for that, Tim. Again, everyone, you can take a look at all of this in our course page. I will also share a QR code with you shortly where you can visit the course page. And I would also like to inform you all about the program investment. So for Indian learners, the course fee is 11,549 rupees, and for US learners, it's $699. So what it includes, it has a flexi pass. So it is the flexibility to reschedule your cohort within the first 90 days of access. You have live online classroom training by top instructors, like I spoke about earlier. You will have learning assistance from our side and access to digital materials from PMI. And we have 100% money back guarantee, but these have conditions. So please go and visit the website to learn more about it. Now, if you would like to enroll for the program, or if you have questions, so I have a lot of questions related to what they should be doing. We have a team of advisors who will reach out to you, help you get your questions answered, and then if you're interested to enroll, they will be able to help you with that as well. So I'm going to quickly launch a poll right now. If you are interested, please click on a yes, and our team will reach out to you at the earliest to answer all of your questions. And in the meantime, as you all are answering, responding to this poll, I'll also pass on a few questions to Tim, because there's a huge volume of questions. We will try to cover as many as we possibly can, also because we do not have a lot of time left. So there are questions about the next batch. I will share this QR once again. You can scan this QR code, and there is a schedule that you can view in the course page. So you will be able to see the next batch and the mentor for each batch if you check that out. And for the copy of the presentation, we will be sharing that. Yeah. Tim, there is one question I wanted to pass to you long back. So this person has shared that he has completed 35 hours of 7th edition, but if he wants to attend the exam of 8th edition, should he practice 8th edition paper or the 7th edition paper?
If you're confident you can pass the exam before the end of June, I'd stay with the 7th edition. If you think that you're going to go into July, what I would suggest is that you go through the practice questions and you align them with the new exam content outline, the 2026 version. And I talked about where to find that, right? PMI.org, certifications, PMP. Go down. Are you interested in the 2026 exam? And that'll get you to the new exam content outline. That would be probably the first thing that you want to do. And then if you're not confident, then you're going to be getting into the new detail and the new discussion.
I just want you to answer one more question. This person has their exam scheduled on July 3rd. So their query is, would I be writing the 7th or the 8th edition? How would I know?
Oh, I don't know the details of that. We've been talking about July 9th. What I would do is go over to the PMI website and look at the date that it's changing. And you can also go to Pearson VUE and ask Pearson VUE too, pearsonvue.com. They are the facilitators of the Exam for Project Management Institute. I do the same research for both of them and see when the exam is changing, okay? That's the big detail. Now, one last thing I want to talk to you about, Shweta. There's a lot of questions and so many questions. What I would actually like to do is, number one, download the chat log, and maybe I can work with you guys behind the scene as all of these audience members call your team so that we can have these answers for you when they're reaching out to you. And
Right.
maybe, just maybe, if you all are interested, we can have conversations on these on a more regular basis. We've been trying this out here at Simplilearn, and it
Right.
seems that this is really an interesting way to work with you and understand your needs. But if you think there's value with this, we can actually consider having a more regular schedule of talking about the PMP exam and talking about these things. You're getting into nuance, you're getting into the detail. And this is exciting for us, but at the same time, we're trying to figure out how to fit it in with all the other things we're doing. But we'd love to at least be prepared to answer your questions. So we're taking the questions that we're talking about today, and we're going to actually bring it into at least having everybody inside of Simplilearn armed with answering those questions that you're asking today.
Right. Thank you for highlighting that, Tim. And again, the only problem we have is that the chat is not recorded. So if you guys have questions that you want answers for, please share it in the Q&A box. Then we will be able to download your questions and then share it with Tim as well. Then we will be able to answer your questions in the upcoming sessions and, connect more often on the same. So please feel free to share your questions. If you're not able to take it up today, we will surely answer your questions in the upcoming sessions. So with that, I'm going to end this poll. We will have a lot more conversations, Tim, about this, and I'm excited because we've got so many questions from the audience, like you mentioned. So it was really exciting. And with that, I think I will have to launch the attendance poll right now. We've got a lot of people waiting for it. We've got questions about that as well. Um, so yeah, I'm quickly launching the poll right now. I hope this poll is visible to all of you. If the poll is not visible to you guys, you can mail us at webinars@simplilearn.net. Please share your full name in the poll, and this will be shared. The recording will be shared with all of you, and the slide deck will also be shared. I think I saw a lot of questions about that as well. Please don't share your names in the chat. Unfortunately, this chat is not recorded, so we will not be able to, get your name recorded. Please write to us at webinars@simplilearn.net. I just typed it in the chat for all of you webinars.
Very good. Yes, and again, thank you so much, everybody, for bringing these very relevant questions. And we'll continue to be answering these questions as we move forward. And like I said, if this has meaning and value to you, we're more than happy to accommodate this. This is how we created the brand here at Simplilearn. We're very interested in your voices and your advice, and the questions you're asking are so relevant to us because everybody's asking the same questions.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Tim. And first of all, I would also like to thank you for being such a wonderful speaker. We learned a lot. I can see some really positive responses from the audience. They enjoyed this session. I absolutely enjoyed it. Learned a lot. Understood a lot more about the exam format as well. And I hope it resonates with all of you. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And I really hope to have you in a lot more of our upcoming PMP webinars as well. And in the meantime, I would also like to thank all of you who stayed with us till the very end. Like Tim mentioned, you've been a great audience. You've asked some wonderful questions, and we would love to see all of you join us at Simplilearn in our classroom sessions. And we will be more than happy to have conversations about PMP. If you have suggestions about anything at all, or if you want us to cover any specific topic in PMP that you are excited about, you can again write to us at webinars@simplilearn.net, and we will try to deliver really impactful and helpful sessions for all of you. And yes, Faisal, you will be getting the recording if you have already filled up the poll. If you have not, you can write to us and we will share the recording with you. All right, so with that, I will have to end the certificate poll for everyone right now. If you have not been able to fill it up, don't worry. You can write to us and we will be sharing it with all of you. And in the interest of time, we will not be able to take any more questions, unfortunately. But like Tim mentioned, the chat, the Q&A box is recorded. We will keep a note of all of your questions. I will make it a point to share it with Tim, and we will try to get it all answered in the upcoming sessions. So with that, I will have to wrap up this webinar. I hope to see all of you in the upcoming sessions. And Tim, once again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. I appreciate your curiosity and I appreciate your information. Have a great day. And thank you, Shweta.
Yeah.
This was